The shift happens beneath the surface before it ever reaches words. Something fundamental changes in the way they hold themselves in relation to the absence they created. The avoidant who once seemed perfectly content in their solitude begins to exhibit behaviors that contradict everything their departure suggested. These are not grand declarations or dramatic reversals, but subtle psychological signatures that reveal an internal battle between their conditioning and their genuine longing. Understanding these signs requires looking beyond what they say and recognizing what their actions betray about the war happening inside them. The haunting through peripheral presence. When an avoidant wants someone back, they rarely approach directly. Instead, they orbit. They create opportunities for accidental encounters that are anything but accidental. Their presence becomes a ghost that lingers at the edges of awareness, never fully materializing but never entirely disappearing. They watch from a distance, monitoring without engaging, existing in spaces where they might be noticed without having to risk actual vulnerability. This behavior stems from a desperate internal conflict where the desire for reconnection battles against the terror of rejection. They want to be seen wanting without having to admit they want. The avoidant begins to soften their dismissiveness in ways that feel almost imperceptible. Where once there was cold indifference, there emerges a quality of attention that suggests they are paying closer attention than they wish to reveal. They remember details they claim not to care about. They reference shared moments they previously minimized. This is not casual nostalgia, but rather the surfacing of emotions they work so hard to suppress. The avoidant who wants someone back cannot maintain the facade of complete detachment, because the feelings they buried refuse to stay buried. The vulnerability dressed as casualness. Perhaps the most telling sign is when the avoidant begins to share parts of themselves they previously guarded with ferocious protection. They speak about struggles they would have hidden before. They admit to loneliness they would have denied. They reveal fears they spent years pretending did not exist. This vulnerability appears casual, almost thrown away as if it means nothing, but this is precisely what makes it significant. The avoidant never shares their internal world without reason, and when they do, it is an invitation disguised as information. They are testing whether it is safe to let someone back in by offering small pieces of the self they normally keep locked away. The language changes too. Where once there was finality in their communication, there emerges ambiguity. Doors that seem permanently closed now appear slightly ajar. They stop speaking in absolutes and start speaking in possibilities. This linguistic shift reflects a psychological one where the certainty of their departure gives way to the uncertainty of wanting to return. The return that terrifies them most. The avoidant who wants someone back experiences a unique form of psychological torture. Every impulse toward reconnection triggers the very fears that cause them to leave. They want to reach out but are paralyzed by the vulnerability that reaching requires. They want to be wanted but are terrified of being needed. They want to return but cannot bear the shame of admitting they were wrong to leave. This internal conflict manifests as inconsistency. They move forward, then retreat. They offer warmth, then withdraw into coldness. They signal interest, then punish themselves for feeling it. Understanding this pattern means recognizing that their desire to return is real even when their ability to act on it remains compromised. The avoidant who wants someone back is engaged in the most difficult battle of their emotional life, choosing connection over protection, choosing vulnerability over safety, choosing love over the familiar comfort of their defenses. Their return, if it happens, will not be smooth or linear, but rather a painful, stuttering journey toward a version of themselves they are not yet sure they can become.